Wait a minute.
Can you hear me?
Yes. Welcome to the John Clarence Gomez Show, Liam.
Oh, thanks. Pleasure having me. Thanks for having me.
Yes, thank you. What is a life of an expat in Singapore?
What's the life of an expat in Singapore? It depends on where you're an expat from.
Yes.
Uh, like if you're an expat from Australia, you tend to actually
There are
hang out
many
with a lot of
Australians in Singapore. There are many
What's that?
Australians. There are many Australians in Singapore.
Yeah, I'd probably say most of the expats are Australian. And if you're so those guys tend to kind of keep to themselves. But I'm a Canadian, so I've been here actually 14 years next month,
Yes.
and I'm actually going to be. Most of my friends are actually locals, and that a lot of that came from actually doing stand-up comedy here in Singapore.
Yes. What is the new event for your comedy? Because I want you to promote your event.
Well, on April 15th, I will be doing my 1 hour show at the Maryline, and I gotta say I'm really looking forward to that one. To be honest, I'll be mixing my music with my jokes tend to be kind of a little riskier, a little racier than most, a little ruder. So I'm hoping that it's going to go well. So, but that'll be on April 15th at the Maryline, and I'll be posting that on YouTube the following day.
Are you a theater actor? Theater actor.
Am I an actor?
Theater actor. Musical
Well, in
theater.
fact, I did do. I'm actually a classically trained actor. I studied musical theater when I was in college, and so I actually did a lot of stage prior to that. And I also did commercial auditions and a
What's
audition
the
for
product of the
HBO.
commercial? What is the product of
What's
the
that?
commercial? What is the product of the commercial?
I'm sorry, I don't understand.
What is the product of the commercial? Do you audition?
Oh, what type of products? Actually, a lot of it was just like your 30-second spots and things like that. So it was probably the HBO one was the most interesting one. I actually auditioned for a show that later went on to become the HBO series Oz, which was about a prison, and it was really interesting. It was really interesting. I actually thought I was going to get that one, but unfortunately, that special didn't come through. And then but I did a lot more music after that. I got to actually tour around U.S. and Canada with a band, and we did some recordings. So, like I said, things are great, and I think that's why I actually incorporate music into my comedy routine. And the crowds really, really seem to like that. A lot of the songs are very silly. They're actually, yeah, they're a lot of fun. The songs are probably some of and that actually happened by accident. When I first started doing comedy 8 years ago, and I was terrible, and so I actually ended up having the worst show I think any comedian's ever had. I had 5 minutes of absolute silence. And so what I did is the next week I came back with my guitar and I started playing porn music, and then it just kind of rolled from there. And as it was, it was very successful. That's pretty much launched my comedy career in Singapore. Was doing the porn music.
What is the difference of USA and Canada? Because I know you are from Canada. What is the difference of the two countries, USA and Canada?
That's a really good question. Because a lot of people actually think Canadians and Americans are very much alike, and we are just so different.
When it
The
comes to
Canadian,
politics, because Canada and USA are both federal, but the system is different because America has a president and Canada has Queen Elizabeth and a prime minister.
yeah, that's true. Well, we're also the Americans tend to be actually very conservative and very liberal at the same time, and the Canadians tend to be
Liberal.
somewhat conservative
Yes.
and quite forward thinking, but not actually. I wouldn't say liberal. I mean, we believe in things like same sex marriage, legalized marijuana, abortion for women, um, and yet so it's a very also people who become Canadians are we consider them Canadians. Like we don't consider you like an Indian Canadian, or we don't consider you an African Canadian. Like they have African Americans and Indian Americans, Chinese Americans. You're all just Canadians. So there
But
really is
in
no, we don't see a really distinction like that.
but
Plus, we're
in
also not crazy.
but in Quebec the language is different. French, they use French than English.
Well, it's true, but there's only
Montreal.
certain areas of Quebec that don't speak English. The major cities like Quebec City,
Montreal.
well, they're English and French speaking. But the reason they do that is because they're trying to actually protect their French speaking culture. And to be honest, that is actually a really important part of Canada as well. Like the French speaking part is a really important part. And when they almost split, it was really close. That was about 20 years ago. Canada kind of panicked. And when they actually lost that vote, then everything actually went back to normal. And, but we consider Quebec to be actually probably one of the nicest parts of Canada, to be honest. As far as women go, they're the most beautiful ones are in Quebec for sure,
Yes.
and best hockey players too.
Yes. I know that I'm a Filipino. There are many Filipino in Canada. But
Ah,
but there are difference our passport because Singapore and Canada can visit many countries because Singaporeans and Canadians are lucky when it comes to traveling. They can visit many countries without a visa. But we Filipinos, our passport is very weak. We can only visit some countries, only 70 or 67 countries without a visa.
oh yeah. Is Canada one of those? That because I actually know a lot of Filipinos in Canada.
Yes, immigrants.
Yeah, it tends to be a good destination. And to be honest, my uncle married a Filipino woman, and so yeah, George, he had married a Filipino, and I gotta say, her name's Charity, and I gotta say she never liked me. I don't know why. I don't know what I did.
But when it comes to passport, the Philippine, Singaporean, and Canadian passport, because Singaporean and Canadian, not only Singapore and Canada, but also in Malaysia, they can visit many countries without a visa. But we Filipino, we can only travel to 67 countries without a visa.
Well, I actually applied for my Singaporean citizenship.
Yes.
So, my wife actually thinks I'm crazy to give up my Canadian passport.
Yes. Singapore is the number one most powerful passports in the world.
I
Next
agree,
to Japan.
even though everybody likes Canadians more than Singaporeans.
But but Canadian has not called the most powerful. Singaporean is the most powerful, and also Japan.
I agree.
Yes.
I love Singapore. Like I said, I've been here almost 14 years now, and I find the people are not as uptight as they are in other parts of the world. And it's interesting when
But
I was
also
doing
here
a
in
lot
the
of
Philippines, both Filipino and Singaporeans are happy people, and we are not racist. We are not racist than many Western world that has racist sentiments against immigrants.
You know, the big audiences for comedy, hands down, are the Philippines. I've done shows in the Philippines, and they were absolutely just the best shows. Because if they're yeah, one thing that Filipinos love to do is actually laugh at themselves,
Yes,
and
we are happy people. We are happy
yeah,
people.
it's really true. And also, there's the other two things I love about the Philippines, other than doing shows, is great poker games in the Philippines. Really good poker players. I love poker, and
Gambling is popular in our country.
oh yeah,
There are many casino in the Philippines, like Resorts World Manila, Dream World. What is the name of that? Dream City of Dreams.
right. Oh
And
right.
World
Oh, that's a good
Manila.
one. That's a great casino. And but the other thing I like is that if you want to find a country that has the best bands, you go to the Philippines.
Yes.
I was when I first moved to Singapore. I had a week off and I had like nothing to do, and I was going to stay home, and they were actually tearing down the building that was next to me. And it was so loud, I thought, you know what, I'm going to go off and just watch the bands in Singapore. And after one night of looking at bands in Singapore, I realized that, okay, they're all just Filipino bands anyway, so let me go
Yes,
to the
there are many
Philippines.
Filipino bands in Singapore. They
Yeah.
are working as a singer, dancer, and
Oh, yeah.
entertainer. Like
But-
in Universal Studios Singapore, there are many Filipino dancers
Yeah.
in Universal
Oh,
Studios Singapore.
actually, I went to this club down. It was a jazz club down in the Greenbelt, and when I went in, there was this.
Makati.
I can't remember the name. It was a long time ago, but they were just doing jazz. And when I showed up, the sax player was the most amazing sax player I had ever heard. And apparently he'd actually had been playing at Heebie-Jeebies in New York City and a lot of the main jazz clubs in the U.S., but he just missed home. And so he actually came back to the Philippines. So it was a real boon for the Filipinos, because he was one of he was so gifted.
In the Philippines, if you are foreigner and you sing a Tagalog song, for example, you're a foreigner and you can speak and sing a Tagalog song, you will be famous in the Philippines, because Filipino are happy when they are seeing foreigners that can sing a Tagalog or speak Tagalog.
Well, I only know how to say one thing in Tagalog.
Yes.
I can-
Mabuhay.
Yeah. No, I actually, you know what? I guess. What I know how to say, are we going down?
Are we going down? Bababa. Yes.
And if you are, you say bubble. Actually, the only thing I know is my fellow friends are talking about bubba.
Yes. Pababa. Pag paakyat na, when you say going up, paakyat. Paakyat.
Now we know three things: bumahay, bababa, and bababa.
Yes, if you say going up, paakyat.
Bakya. Okay. I'll try to remember that one. Actually, Tagalog is such a musical language. So it's
Yes,
a real
musical language, yes. Can you sing a Filipino song?
Only if it's by Bruno Mars.
Yes. Apple the up, Black Eyed Peas. Filipino.
So if Bruno Mars counts, then I could sing a Filipino song, but I can't sing any Tagalog songs now.
Yes.
So, but I've certainly heard enough of them.
Do you love jazz music?
Do I like what?
Jazz music. Do you
Oh,
love
jazz. You know, interestingly enough, I was never a big fan of jazz.
Yes.
And then when
We
I
are
back when I
both.
was in
I'm
my
not
20s,
also a fan of jazz. My favorite music, do you know, is novelty music. In the
yeah,
Philippines, novelty music or comedy song are very popular,
yeah.
and this is my favorite in the Philippines. Novelty
Well,
music.
they had a when I was in my 20s, my early 20s. Um, the guy who was the lead guitarist in our band, and we were on tour. We had four different sets that we would play, and we never knew what the venue was going to be like wherever we showed up. So our very first set was a jazz set, and so I actually became. That's when I actually started loving jazz, and then. Afterwards, I moved to the Czech Republic for 3 years, and when I came back, we actually started a jazz band. And I've got to say, jazz bands actually get booked more than pop bands because they're a good jazz band is really really hard to find.
Yes.
So that's when I learned all the main standards because I'm a singer myself. So I got to say, jazz is yeah. I do love jazz now, but I like the real classic jazz. The more modern jazz like Jamiroquai and those guys. I've got to say, I do like the jazz infusion that they put in stuff. So yeah, I am now a fan of jazz for sure.
Yes. This is the this is this is the not the last. Last two questions. This is the
Oh, last two questions.
question.
Okay,
Last
okay.
two. It is easy to become a Singaporean permanent resident or Singaporean citizen. It is easy.
Actually, when I first came here in 2006, it was actually really easy to become a permanent resident.
But now
And
it's hard.
now it's completely changed it because the Singaporeans were complaining that oh, they're taking our jobs and all the same kind of xenophobic stuff, and so they were actually talking about the Westerners coming in and taking prime jobs, and so they changed the standards of it. But the thing is they really do need to continue to have immigration because that's the only way we'll grow our population here in Singapore because the birth rate here is one of the lowest birth rates in the world. So unless there is more immigration, the population will stagnate. So it's not easy to become a PR anymore, and it's actually not easy to become a citizen when you're because they do it by category. So 70% of Singapore is Chinese. So 70% of the immigrants they want to make Chinese so they can keep the same makeup, and then 20% Malay, and then 10% other. And of the other, I'm the smallest portion of the other. So I've
actually we have no time. This is the last question. How many countries do you visit?
It's interesting. I just added this up about 6 months ago, and I've actually been to over 37 different countries.
Wow.
So, and I have done comedy in in only 8 of them. So I'm hoping that this is the year that's going to change. But of course, with the COVID-19, I don't even know if we'll be able to travel around.
What is the most favorite countries do you visit?
Okay, well, in Southeast Asia, my favorite country to visit is the Philippines.
Yes.
Yeah, I also love Hong Kong. I'm a huge
Thailand, Malaysia.
Indonesia, Malaysia, they're okay. I went to Vietnam recently. It was a nice country, but No, the best place to actually visit is the Philippines. For one, is the people are amazing. The food is amazing. It's all. I always have a good time there. Hong Kong, just because the food is great and I like the clubs and I get to do comedy there. But I'd say my favorite country to go to in the world is actually the Czech Republic.
Yes.
I used to
used to
live
love
in
it.
Prague,
Prague.
and wow, the Czech Republic is incredible. It's beautiful.
Prague. Yes.
Yeah, and it's cheap too. It's really cheap to go to Prague.
Do you know
Cheaper.
Nathan? Do you know Nathan Hartono, my favorite singer in Singapore?
Who's your favorite singer?
Nathan Hartono in Singapore, my favorite singer in Singapore. But in the Philippines, Max Urban, novelty singer.
I know him. Yeah, you gotta say it. So funny, oddly enough, I don't know the Singaporean one, but I do know the Filipino one. So I've got to say, music is really. My wife and I were actually thinking about taking a cheap holiday because it's really cheap to fly, and I was actually thinking, yeah, we should go out to the Philippines. Especially down to Boracay, where my uncle lives. He lives in Boracay. So, but you know what? Boracay has changed so much in the last 15 years. It's not even the same. It's not even close. I don't even recognize it. It's now just such a tourist spot, and Boracay used to be just an amazing place to relax, and now it's full of clubs and all these beach resorts and stuff. And I mean, they closed it down because the tourists got so bad, and all the poop.
We have no time. We have no time, and thank you for guesting.
Oh, thank you for having me, John. I really appreciate it. Big fan of the show, and good luck in the future. Really appreciate it. Thanks.
Yes. Thank you.
All right, bye.
Bye. Thank you. Bye.